Good morning, Dan and Amy. We're not off to a very good start this year with homicides already ahead of last year's macabre pace. And wanted to get a handle on where things are at with the Chicago Police Department in the wake of those reports last year and the first part of this year before Trump's inauguration, and what changes are actually happening after a lot of the preening before the cameras done by politicians. And to help us understand where Chicago police are at with the violent crime problem that afflicts the city, pleased to be joined again by our friend Dean Angelo, president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police. Dean, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, before we even get to that, though, the Sun-Times story on Friday that you're running for re-election yourself within the union, and you've been pushed into a runoff. And I was asking some of my Chicago police friends about this because, from my money, and I don't know if you want my endorsement or not, but from our experience with you and watching what you've done, and this was frankly not just my opinion, but the police officers I spoke with. You've done a tremendous job, and you're a thoughtful, measured guy that really walks the line in a very difficult political environment. And so I wonder if you had a comment about your reelection and this runoff that you're facing.
Well, first, thank you very much for those words of support like that. We were elected in April 2014, and almost 4 months to the day Ferguson hit. And it's been one hell of a ride ever since. And I think we've navigated it quite well throughout this turmoil, this anti-police rhetoric that you comment on and speak of on a regular basis. It's an environment we've never faced before. And although it's been difficult, I'm glad I'm sitting in this chair in order to help try to be that balance and in order to help to try to defend our members as much as possible whenever I have an opportunity. I never turn down any interviews, and but they are frustrated. And even though I've done more face-to-face or radio or TV, and national, local, and international, there needs to be more. I'm not sure if we need a spokesperson that's out there beyond my voice, but they are at a level of frustration, and it's as high as the morale is low.
Well, speaking of spokesman, I have to ask this question. Whatever happened to Pat Camden? I mean, he used to he was a spokesman for Chicago police for years, and then he was with the FOP, and where did he go?
Well, there was a little concern about, and I know Pat forever. I
love Pat.
I was in graduate school. He's a great guy. He's very presentable. He's a magnet to that camera. It got to a point where we were looking at kind of a cookie-cutter presentation at these scenes, and we were taking the brunt of the responsibility for something the department should have been doing. And when they're looking for us for clarification and then looking for us to be the story of the incident, the FOP winds up in the crosshairs when the department should be doing this, and the department should be the ones explaining what the officers were involved in as an official statement. And the official statement became ours, and now we wear it whether it's accurate or inaccurate, and we had some inaccuracies at a couple of those events, and at that point we figured that it might be best right now to go in a different direction, and that's when it became my responsibility and our field rep's responsibility, but it also forced the department to do what they were supposed to have been doing all along, and being the voice for the actions of their employees. Even though there are members at these scenes, it's the department's job.
I want to go back to the rank and file and the frustration they feel about what you were speaking. And I wonder if they're pushing, even though you've spoken in plain terms on these issues, if they're pushing for you or whoever to be more aggressive with respect to the political civilian leadership of this city, that is where the ultimate responsibility for what happens in the city lies.
I think you just hit it on the head, Dan. I think that's exactly what the members are asking me for, and have told me when I go to roll calls. I haven't been able to get out as much as I did last election because I'm doing 12 hours a day in the office. But that being said, when I'm out there, when I'm talking to these women and these men in these roll calls, they want that. They want that boxing match with LaSalle Street. They want that, that kick to the shin that I said, sometimes doesn't always help. But you've got to be able to recognize what your membership is looking for, and what they're looking for now is that voice and is that. I don't know if you want to call it a line in the sand, but it is that more of a confrontation with those who are in place to mandate the way we do our job when they have no business telling police how to police when they've never done it themselves.
Enough said. You want me to volunteer? Done. It's not a problem.
All right.
I'm done.
What time are you done over there?
He's off at 9. With the snow, he'll be there about 9:30.
Right.
So Dean Angelo Jr., one of my police officer friends, texted me and said what he loves about you is that you urged Mayor Emanuel to put retroactive payback on the table as a show of good faith when you came in 2014, something that former President Mike Shields forgot to do.
Well, when the letter didn't go in to tell the city that we were actually prepared for negotiation, we lost the ability to claim that retroactivity. And then the first, 2 days actually after I was inducted into office, I had my first sit down with the mayor, and we hit the reset button, I think is the way he put it. So we were able to get retroactivity back into the mix. The problem is that the retroactivity became the overshadowing issue in the contract. The contracts before went to arbitration, and some of our members believed at that time that arbitration is part of a fix. So you go behind the scenes, you work out a deal, the members aren't involved, and that was the last thing we wanted to do. So what we did, even though it was the first contract that we were the last to negotiate with the city. We always went first. But because the letter didn't go in and put the city on notice, we were last. We put the best package possible, painted into a corner that we could, but we brought it to the members for their consideration, and we brought it to the members for their vote, and almost 67% ratified the first agreement we had ratified by the members in almost 20 years. But now they're looking back and saying, well, we lost this part of the contract, or we lost that benefit of the contract, but it was the membership that voted for it. Now we have to work on getting some of those things back, because I hand-delivered my Valentine to the mayor's office on the 14th of February, so we are ready to negotiate right now.
I want to go back to what I mentioned at the outset. 2 months ago, Loretta Lynch, the then Attorney General, came to town to launch Rahm Emanuel's reelection campaign, talk about her police report, which was a cut-and-paste job of his police report, in my estimation. And at the time, Eddie Johnson, the police superintendent, also got up there and talked about the changes that were going to happen in terms of training and engagement between police and the community to increase the peace on the streets. So what's happened in the 60 days since that event?
Well, we saw the superintendent run down to Springfield and try to get some increased penalties, some sentencing, lengthening, as it were, of for individuals involved with, gun violence or violence itself on our streets. And and that's a good thing. None of us will argue against that. These guys don't belong on the street with any of us. They belong in the prison system. I believe what we've got to do, going back to answer your question directly, we saw a diminishment in the use of force policy that came out. So the first one had 30-some pages attached to it and different amendments, and the new one is a quarter of that size. It was, I think, impacted by a lot of the input that our members offer the department, because you're getting input from people that will be dealing with that mechanism. If we would have had that with these investigatory stop reports, we wouldn't have seen our street stops drop by the hundreds of thousands, because the police officers would have said, are you kidding me? This doesn't work. But it wasn't written by the police. It was written by the ACLU. And we've got to get police officers involved in the research and the development and the implementation of these directives, because they're the ones that know the positive and or the negative aspects of those mandates. How is it going to hurt our community? We talked about this when we did our sit down. How is it going to help or hurt the community? You can really contribute to the problems that we see out there by telling policemen you're not to stop that crowd of guys unless you meet this threshold, and they know it now. So they stand there, they're gunned up, they're narcoticed up, they're ganged up, and they know that unless we see them participate in a crime or are told by someone that those guys participated in a crime, you beep the horn and you wave by. Families that live there are wondering, why the hell are the policemen not grabbing these guys? Well, we're told not to.
He is Dean Angelo, president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police. Dean, thanks for joining us as always, and good luck with your reelect.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.